How's it going?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are joined in the background, as you can see, by Dip. He likes having his tower there by the window so he can look outside, but Dot is also here. They might end up arguing, as they sometimes do. They're really funny when they fight because they're not fighting in earnest. They're just sparring, and they have a hilarious time doing it. They are very equally matched. I think they weigh the exact same amount. and they really just go for it. And it's really funny to watch. We were enjoying it earlier today. It was a very WWE vibes over there. They have a good time. Thank you guys so much for joining me once again. I'm very excited for this evening. I was getting increasingly frustrated this evening reading about what's going on in Maui, and I know that there have been conspiracy theories, and my prevailing line on that front has been, please just let them bury the poor people who died in these fires before we start formulating conspiracy theories about it. But there are some serious questions to be asked, and somebody went up to the Maui mayor and asked him point blank, and he refused to answer. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at what happened with the water, because the Daily Wire has a really good article about it. There's been a lot made about the fact that this guy was super into the equity stuff. And I don't think that was a direct issue, but at the same time, would you like one of the pets? Thank you. Andy's coming to take one of the combatants out of the ring for now. The mayor refused to answer questions about how they're accounting for the people who are missing over the course of the fire. It's been 2 weeks now, and they're still refusing to give answers. And we're going to also look at what FEMA is doing, asking people not to take pictures. Very interesting stuff. So, Martin, welcome. Whisper, hello. How's it going? We're going to open with this story out of Dallas. Just something that caught my eye as I was getting started. Let me go ahead and skip ahead a little bit through here. Okay, we'll start right here. I don't know if we need audio. We're just going to watch what's going on here. Yeah, so this gent is trying to break into the house, the apartment, where this camera is located, right? So it's a Ring doorbell, so he can see, or Blink, whatever. It's a doorbell that records what people are doing outside. These guys are pretending to be maintenance workers. As you can see from just a second ago, he's checking the other door to see if anyone's home there. Looks like no one's home, and that's going to come into play here in just a second. So, knock, knock, knock. No one's there. Okay, pretending to be maintenance, not dressed professionally. His hand is full of rings. He's covered in tattoos. His compatriot is wearing a mask and gloves and comes and gives a few good kicks to this door. So as you can see, they're trying to kick this door in, right? And we're about to see what happens next. Oh my gosh, what was that? Holy cow. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see it, but here on the side, there's little, wow, there's like 5 or 6 or 7 shots into the wall of this apartment, which is interesting. Now, the next thing they show is cops showing up, and I guarantee you that this was not immediate. I bet you a nickel that this was a couple minutes, so there's clearly a cut here, but I bet you they are going to have some serious questions about all these little bullet holes over here, because that was my first thought when I was like, okay, shots fired after 2 men pretending to be maintenance workers try to kick in an apartment door. Where are those bullets going to go? So this is probably the biggest problem with firing guns like this in any kind of situation like this. You are putting other people in danger, and that's definitely something that you need to consider before you consider pulling the trigger. Howdy from Tucson. Howdy. Hello. Hope everything's going well. Greg says, I want to see kitty or puppy. Too bad there's only puppy here now, and she's napping. So cops are like, what's going on? The resident opens the door, right? Here he is. Here's his friend. He doesn't have his gun. Hands up, coming out. You have to know how dangerous this is. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story of Douglas Limp. Many, many, many stories of people coming out, hands in the air, completely passive, submissive, and the cops don't care. And they take advantage of the fact that they have qualified immunity, and they end up killing them, which is... There's serious problems with policing in America, and it has very little to do with race and a lot to do with the institution itself getting too big for its britches. So here's his friend. Here's our pal, our hero, we could call him. Explaining to the cops. Cops are going in. Cops are always kind of rude. This cop is pointing his flashlight at the other apartment's door. Not surprised. So I was thinking about this while I was watching this. I was like, what would have been the best strategy to try to prevent bullets from going anywhere near other people, right? And I was like, okay, so The door opens in one direction, and I was like, I wonder if the best course of action might have been, this is clearly not a very nice neighborhood because it looks like this guy has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this lock, a bunch of different locks on his door, right? So he's really trying to keep safe. I was like, I wonder if the best course of action might have been to let him kick the door in, right? Wait until he comes in the door, be standing behind the door, and then fire towards that wall that we see there that has that sliding door on it. Now, that's probably not the best solution. Ideally, you would prevent someone with a gun from entering your home at all costs. This is very much a case of being stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because the assailant had a gun in his hand, right? The last thing you want to do is let someone with a gun in his hand into your house. And I'm just spouting off the top of my head. I am not an expert. Andy and I were just figuring out our firearms ideas moving forward because we're kind of trying to piece it together. Now we actually live in a free state. Going to get a bunch of training, really interested in boning up on that knowledge. But my thinking here was we really want to keep all of these stray bullets away from other people. So firing toward the wall with the fireplace and the sliding door could be a good course of action, but then you get into the difficulty of someone with a gun entering your house, and then you're in a huge pickle, even bigger, much bigger. You don't want to be face to face with somebody else with a gun. And as you can see here, there's a crib in the living room, which means that there's a child nearby, which ups the ante significantly, especially if the man who was firing was the father, or this man is the father. Either way, that's terrifying. I'm really glad there wasn't a kid right there. That's awful. But I just thought it was super interesting, and I was like, what is the best course of action here? And I will tell you right now, Texas is not the freest state. Texas is not the best when it comes to gun control restrictions and that kind of thing. It's just not. And you can get in huge trouble just for defending yourself, as you can in almost any state. It's definitely something we need to work on. Now, on that topic, we're going to talk about Gavin Newsome. So we're going to talk about California a little bit this evening. Stuart says, hi, Whisper and family. Nicolas says, aloha from the Big Island. Hello. Maybe you can help us with some of this conversation. Stevie says, overpenetration is when a round travels through a door or drywall and police are concerned with overpenetration. Yes, of course. Understandable. He fired directly at a wall that was a part of the neighbor's apartment, right? That obviously should be a concern. And that's something you have to do carefully. Now, in Florida, we are very, very free as firearms go. You are not required to register like concealed carry or anything like that. But I will never not recommend people get serious training about this kind of stuff. This is so important. My dad always taught us that guns are tools and needed to be treated with respect. And I still believe that 100%. Man, you can really mess it up if you're not careful with the tools you're using, and that definitely includes guns. Stevie says they're supposed to be keeping it in mind. Over penetration, yeah, for sure. For sure. Anyway, I just thought that was super interesting. Want to share that with you guys, see what you guys thought. Got a couple thoughts on that one. Let's talk about Hawaii, then we'll talk about California. Then we'll talk about the new strain, because there is a new one, which is a very interesting. Okay, so let's read this Daily Wire article. I really felt like they put this together the best. I'd been seeing a lot of allegations about this official, and people seem to be coming away with the impression that he was withholding water because of equity. The fact of the matter is that he had made comments in the past about equity. Now, do you want someone like that in charge of when push comes to shove, when pedal hits the metal, when the going gets tough? You want that person calling the shots? Probably not. But at the same time, we should probably keep in mind that equity may not have been his reason for making the decision that he made. So let's read. State agency led by water equity advocate delayed water request during wildfire to consult with farmers, Maui company says. Very interesting. A Maui land company said its request for water to help fight the wildfire that raged last week on the island was delayed during critical hours by a state agency that first had to consult with local farmers. I don't know why that was, and the Daily Wire doesn't go into detail, but I'm sure we could look that up easily. The West Maui Land Company, which manages agricultural and residential subdivisions and water jurisdictions, alleged in a letter sent to Hawaii Commission on Water Resource Management, CWRM, Deputy Director Kaleo Manuel, that the government agency delayed its request for hours, and by the time the request was granted, it was too late, Fox News reported. The death toll from the fires hit 111 and included children, but much of the burned area still needs to be searched as hundreds of people remain missing. We will talk about that in a minute. Glenn Tremble of the West Maui Land Company said he made the initial request for the state agency to divert water from streams on August 8th as the fire spread through the town of Lahaina, but hours went by before he heard anything, according to CNN. We anxiously awaited the morning, knowing that we could have made more water available to the fire department if our request had been immediately approved, he wrote in the letter. We cannot know whether filling our reservoirs at 1 p.m. as opposed to not at all would have changed the headlines when dawn broke. We know that we need to act faster during an emergency. Manuel was criticized earlier this week for past comments on water equity as a resurfaced clip spread on social media shows that the deputy directors discussing how water requires true conversations about equity. My motto has always been, let water connect us, not divide us, Manuel says in the clip. We can share it, but it requires true conversations about equity. Yeah, okay, this is the person you want at the helm in a massive emergency. The state's website says Manuel has focused on bringing planning and indigenous knowledge to the fields of water advocacy and management in Hawaii. The West Maui Land Company blasted CWRM in a letter, writing, "We are all devastated. No one is happy. There was water in the streams while our homes, our businesses, our lands, and our lives were reduced to ash." Ooh, searing words. Manuel has been reassigned to a different location. This is where it gets really interesting, according to a press release from the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources, which insisted that the reassignment was not for anything that he did wrong. DLNR is redeploying First Deputy of the Commission on Water Resource Management, Kaleo Manuel, to a different DLNR division, the press release said. The purpose of this deployment is to permit CWRM and the department to focus on the necessary work to assist the people of Maui recover from the devastation of wildfires. This deployment does not suggest, this is the most interesting part, okay? This deployment does not suggest that First Deputy Manuel did anything wrong. DLNR encourages the media and the public to avoid making judgments until all facts are known. He did nothing wrong. Why would you even suggest that? What are you talking about? This is the most apparent case of covering their butts that I think I've ever seen. Hawaiian Electric is also under scrutiny for allegedly slow-walking modernization and repairs of its electrical grid as it devoted resources to building out the utility's green energy network. You guessed it. The state attorney general said it will use a third party to investigate how state and local government agencies responded to the devastating fire. Do you guys really think that the state is going to hold itself accountable for this stuff? Because I certainly don't. We'll take a look at what their leaders are saying in just a second. Thank you, Texas Rangers, for your super chat. Hi, Andy and Lydia. You guys are awesome. God bless. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Stuart adds in his super chat, thank you, sir. Many children missing reportedly. Death toll could be nearer to 1,000. Yes, I am hearing that too, and we're going to talk about that next. Hell Saint says he needs to be criminally charged. Right, well, we'll look at the reasoning for saying that in just 1 second. I just thought that article was especially interesting because the company came right out and said he didn't do anything wrong. He's not being moved because he did anything wrong. This is just, we have to help the people in Maui and try and make sure that they're helped to recover from this wildfire, I guess, and he didn't do anything wrong. It's fine. And we would never fire an indigenous person of color, etc. Please give me a break. All right. This is interesting. I'm going to make you guys listen to this. We start after someone asks the mayor a question. He asks how many kids are missing, okay? Today is the 21st, and as the article we just read was saying, The fire was raging on the 8th, so it's been almost 2 weeks. Let's listen to what he has to say. Let me see if I get this loud enough. It's so annoying. I have a hard time with this.
I don't know.
Yes, you do. How many children are missing? You know.
I knew the answer to that. I'd be happy to answer that.
You have no estimate as to how many children are missing?
I guess we can end this right now. Okay, one.
I guess we can end this right now if you guys want. Because one man asks him how many children are missing.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I wish I
Yes,
knew
you
the answer.
do.
I wish we had an answer. Yes, you do.
How many children are missing?
How many children are missing?
You know.
I knew the
You
answer
know.
to that.
I wish I knew the answer for that.
I'd be happy to answer that.
I'd be happy to answer that. No, you wouldn't. Because I get the impression that at this point, after the fire, this many days after this went down, given especially that it's an island, they know exactly who is missing. I bet you a nickel that they have a list of every single soul that is currently unaccounted for. And yes, that includes children. And it is, to me, especially telling that they refuse to consider or even spitball how many kids might be involved in this. Now, there has been a conspiracy theory about where these kids might have disappeared to. I am not engaging with that because I don't know anything about that. I would just like to know how many children were, for example, directly affected by the behavior of this official who chose equity over human life. And I have to say, it's 100% consistent with leftist policy to put the ideas of diversity, equity, and inclusion over, above, and beyond the value of actual human life, because the left cares about humanity. They do not care about humans. When it comes down to individual humans, such as the humans who are aborted, they don't care. But they care about humanity, which is the reason they give for saying we're pursuing all these green goals in the end. So, really, really frustrating to watch that exchange. Let's watch the very end here.
You have no estimate as to how many children are missing?
I guess we can end this right now. Okay, one. Sorry,
This is one of the biggest questions that the people of Lahaina have. But you don't want to...
This is one of the biggest questions that people of Lahaina have for you. He just shrugs. He's like, I guess we can end this right now if you guys want.
It always takes one or two to ruin it for everybody. That's what happens.
Well, we could say that about you. You ruined it for everybody.
You're welcome to say it. You're the media. You can say whatever you want.
You're a disaster.
All right. Okay.
You are a disaster.
You've been the worst mayor we could possibly imagine.
You have been the worst mayor we could possibly imagine.
You won't even wait.
Respect. Respect what? This is the most dismal response we ever had.
You won't wait for your turn. You want to shout.
And now he's nitpicking about how they're not waiting their turn to ask him questions. This man is ready for prime time on the Democrat side because he knows which side his bread is buttered on. No one is going to hold him accountable. This is the most accountability this mayor is going to see. And I can tell he doesn't feel any kind of trepidation about facing anybody, but I bet you a nickel, this is the reason they're not telling anyone how many of these kids are gone. Because the people of Maui and the people of Lahaina would be incandescent with rage, inconsolable. It would be a very high risk of civic unrest. We call it that. Stuart says sociopath. I don't know, man. I don't know. Blue says the water issues stem back to when agriculture was king in Hawaii, just like how the water resources are reallocated in California. That doesn't surprise me at all. Also, there are an estimated 3,000 missing pets, to the point where cats and dogs are being sent to Washington and Oregon to make room for these pets. Interesting. I didn't see about that. One of the things that people were saying that I hadn't considered was that because there are so few residents of Hawaii, the percentage of people who have been affected by this fire and the percentage of people who have died in this fire, Andy points out that 2,400 people died in Pearl Harbor, only 11 of them were children. But when people pointed out that the population of Hawaii is so low, I was like, yeah, that's a good point. That's really interesting. That's something that the left would be wise to recall. It's also been a disaster when Biden went down there. There were people flipping him off in the street. Now, in the past, I said that the people who voted for Biden shouldn't necessarily be, blamed for what's happening here. But I'm glad that they're having this response to him. I'm just not sure it translates to the 2024 election. I don't think they're going to vote against him. Hawaii's been blue since, I want to say, before Nixon. I'm not entirely sure. You guys can fact check me on that. Texas Ranger says, where are the lawyers to litigate the fire against Hawaii state and local government? Con lawyers from the mainland to sue the Hawaiian government. Yeah, that would be good too. That might also be another reason that they're really slow rolling the release of the information about how many kids have been affected. And they're playing dumb. They're acting like they don't know. Let's read this, because this is also really interesting on the topic of Hawaii. So this is from Anthony Cabasa. Let's read about Anthony, because I don't know anything about him. Independent host of Informed Daily. Oh, he follows me. Good choice. Spanish language misinformer by Media Matters. He looks very familiar. Very familiar. I don't know where I know him from. He was called that by Media Matters, so good for him. I think I recognize him. I think I've seen him in the past. But he has this interesting scoop along with an email from FEMA. Exclusive. A person wishing to remain anonymous has sent me this email by FEMA, sent to their nonprofit who is headed to Maui to help with disaster relief. They say they're being asked to stop posting any images or videos while on the ground effective immediately. And I want to ask you guys then, do you guys know if this is normal? Because I lived through a fire that was nowhere near as dangerous as this one in Colorado Springs. I want to say that was in 2012. Yeah, I remember that clearly. Because I took my precious things out of my apartment with me when I would go to work because I was afraid that they wouldn't be there when I came back. There were houses up on the hills that were just destroyed. And then we had the resulting kerfuffle with insurance and everything. I think I've talked about how patients moved from one nursing home to another and we ended up taking care of more. But this was never, ever a consideration. They didn't care who took pictures of this stuff. And we're going to read their questioning, or we're going to read their line of reasoning. So follow me here. Out of respect for those who perished, we were asked by Maui County officials to pause posting on social media and elsewhere new imagery of damage, disaster, and debris starting now. They're asking for a full stop on disaster imagery going forward. No explanation. At this point, we have not been asked to take any photos or videos down. Our team on the ground is coordinating with the county for further guidance to ensure we remain fully aligned. Cultural sensitivity. I'm having flashbacks to the guy who was talking about equity when it came to water, is of the utmost importance in all our response and recovery activities to this disaster. No, the hell it's not. Your top priority is human life and making sure that the people who live there are given the care and attention that they need to survive. No. Cultural sensitivity is not of the utmost importance. It absolutely is not. In fact, it ranks way down at the bottom, possibly under your feet. Very, very interesting. And there was a lady who looked up the guy who sent this email, Justin Angel Knighton, Director, Office of External Affairs. Sounds like a PR guy. Federal Emergency Management Agency. And he is also very socially engaged. Let me see if I can find that. She took a screenshot of it. Well, let me read the rest of what Anthony has to say. The source says they found this to be weird, especially as this was sent when they were aware President Biden would be visiting the island. This letter gives me the same undertone of watching Nick Sortor upon arriving in Maui and having a group of people follow him around when he was trying to investigate the events there. So let's see what Nick has to say, because we have had good independent people on the ground. All right, so this is where he talked to Steve Bannon. Just hours after I began pressing the mayor of Maui super hard about children missing from the fire, that may have been him in the first video, not sure. I began being stalked, harassed, and intimidated this morning at 5:45 a.m., about 2 minutes after I started my live shot with Steve Bannon on War Room. While alone in the rear of my hotel, a stalker aggressively approached me from behind. My hotel is 45 minutes from Lahaina. I don't know who this guy is or why he showed up to my hotel at 5:45 a.m. He would have had no way of knowing I had a live shot scheduled. I've even received several death threats from anonymous users, aka cowards, over the past days, and especially the last 12 hours. Now, we are going to take everything this guy says with a grain of salt because we just have no evidence of whether it's true or not. If true, very interesting. Very. Although I now have to move hotels, get a new rental car, and possibly even hire security to travel around with me for my own safety, I will not be deterred. Good for you. If anything, I'll be more vocal. Stalking and harassing me will backfire. I promise you that. I don't trust the Maui, Hawaii, or U.S. governments. They're all lying. They know the truth, but they're hiding it from the public. Okay, I don't know if that's true or not. But based on this email that they got from FEMA, it's very hard to dispute that, at least when it comes to the Maui government and or the federal government backing them. Why is there still a massive media blackout? Why did they lie about the sirens? Why are residents banned from visiting their homes? What is going on here, Maui? Interesting. So you can see this guy come up behind him. Let's see if we can hear what he has to say.
People's minds here.
Hey, what's up, Nick? I've been trying to reach you.
I've been trying to reach you, Nick. That's the creepiest thing that someone can say to you when they walk up behind you when you're not expecting anyone to be there. And that's an incredibly awkward moment. Like that moment of silence. Whoa, that just makes the skin crawl. What the actual heck? Very interesting. I'm glad this was caught on camera.
I'm reaching out to you on X.
Indeed.
You're supposed to be meeting with people here. Who do you...
We're supposed to be meeting. What the heck is going on here? This is crazy. Let's see what else he has to say. This is just, the awkwardness is a little too much for me.
So so you're seeing this live right now. People actually tracked me down.
People actually tracked me down.
You're staying in a tent. You said...
I thought you were staying in a tent. That's creepy as hell. Holy cow.
Coming staying in a tent. You're taking up resources.
I'm not taking up any resources.
You're taking up resources. This person is like a real life Twitter troll. Nick says the only reason I turned my back on the aggressor was because I had a monitor that was mirroring my video feed so I could actually see him and would know if he made any moves. I was hoping he'd just back off if I continued on with a live shot. They're trying to send a message. And then Redhead Libertarian says, how did this end? Did he leave or did you? I picked up my tripod and quickly walked away trying to find people that could witness any sort of attack. He then followed me until he saw another person, then vanished. I don't know where he went. I never saw nor heard a car pulled into or out of the hotel lot. Interesting. That's a very interesting story that I hadn't heard before we started covering this tonight. Anthony is great. I appreciate Nick's work over there. I honestly appreciate all of the independent media who have gone down there. I know that, Ezra, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the publication. It's not The Blaze, but it's a Canadian publication. You guys know what I'm talking about. I can picture the logo, but I can't remember the name of it. That guy named Ezra, he's in charge of it. Let me see if I can, figure that out, because I like to use Ezra Levant. Yeah, okay. So Ezra Levant, journalist, Rebel News. There we go. All right. Let's see here if they have anything about Maui. I actually don't think they do, because he tends to talk more about like world news, which is great. But I was wanting to see if they had, I think they had people on the ground in Maui. Yeah, okay. Wildfires look like a nuclear holocaust. Lahaina combat vets. Wow. First involved in cleanup operations, criticizes authorities' response to the devastating wildfire in Lahaina. Joe Biden just fell asleep in the middle of his meeting with victims of the Maui fire. It does look like that. Wow. This is embarrassing. Every time I see this kind of behavior, I'm like, man, we really deserve what we got, because we got a good one. Biden appears to fall asleep during a ceremony in Hawaii. On the day of the fire in Lahaina, a mother was carried to safety by a young man. The daughter of the mother was saved, gives thanks to him for saving her life. Thank goodness. There are always such stories of such brave humanity when we see horrible stories like this. Humans are fantastic and they are adaptable. Humans are such interesting creatures because they can be so fantastic and so awful, and often at the same times, like in the exact same settings. You'll see the best people. Yes, thank you everybody. Rebel News, Rebel Media. I remember that now. You're taking up resources, says Stevie. Sounds like a WEF puppet shaming people for eating steak and owning a car. I have no idea about that. Nick needs to carry bear mace. Yeah, that is a creepy encounter. And even if people don't seem to understand. They're like, well, what are you talking about? He just came up behind him and asked him questions. That's weird as hell, man. I'm using that word a lot tonight. My apologies. Mango says, anyone know if Lydia has talked about what's happened in Yaranwala at all? I am not familiar with that. So let's look that term up. J-A-W. Sorry, J-A-R-A-N-W-A-L-A. Oh, yeah, Pakistan. I don't typically comment on other countries. Canada would be the closest thing that I would comment on as far as foreign affairs goes, just because I have no idea what's going on over there, and I have no idea of the politics. I will tell you right now, though, if there's anything like an earthquake over there, they are going to have a much more difficult time than, for example, they have in California when California is hit by a level 5 earthquake. Their buildings hold up a lot better than the ones in Iran do, unfortunately, because they are built for earthquakes and they're built in a first world country. Let's see here. So that, I think that was all I wanted to say about Lahaina. It was really interesting. Excuse me. Blue Reader says Hurricane Iniki destroyed Hawaii. No news blackout. This is before social media, but the news showed the aftermath for weeks. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys remember, but when New Orleans was underwater and George W. Bush flew over, first of all, you just draw the parallels between a president who flies over a city and catches endless flack for weeks from the mainstream media versus what's happened with Biden and how they are just kissing his butt, ridiculous, wild stuff. I don't think that the guy who came up behind Nick and said you're taking up resources wasn't necessarily an environmentalist. He's probably trying to make the point that Nick perhaps, I don't know if this is the case or not, Nick perhaps misrepresented where he was staying, because he might have said that he was staying in a tent, which means there was just a question about whether he should have been staying in a motel or should have been staying in a tent. I don't know who Nick works with. I can't remember right off the top of my head. Let me see if I can look Nick up again real fast, because now I'm curious, and he's doing interesting work over there. Nick Sortorius. Yeah, okay. Nick covers stories mainstream media won't, as seen on Tucker Carlson tonight, Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, BBC, and more. So it could have just been your run-of-the-mill liberal who is mad at Nick for even being there at all, saying that he is not being, equitably conscious enough and making sure that he sleeps in a tent instead of staying in a freaking hotel. Wild. That's nuts to me. That's so crazy to me. So Nick has gone to East Palestine. Good for him. Maui is struggling. Sarah Gonzalez had Nick on to talk to him. That's great. Yeah, so Nick's the kind of person who will ask hyperbolic questions on Twitter. They're desperately pushing for a full media blackout here on Maui. Why? Exclamation point. That's a fair question. Maybe Biden would have given more aid to Maui if the people greeted him with Ukrainian flags. They gave him a lei, so they obviously don't hate him too much. Let's see. Let me look up real fast. How long? Oh my gosh, I can't type. How long has Democrat Hawaii presidential election voting history? Let's see. 50th state joined the Union in August 1959. So they've only even been a part of the U.S. since before 1960. State had 3 electoral votes in the 60 election and had 4 ever since. Hawaiians have voted Democratic in every election except the 1972 and 1982 contests, where the state gave wins to Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, respectively. So 2 elections since 1959, Hawaii has ever gone Republican. And now they're watching the fallout from those policies, and I have to say it's got to be eye-opening. But we will see. People's attention spans are very, very short, but I suspect a fire like this won't be forgotten soon by the people who live there. Blue, 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 blue. Yep, correct. Yeah, so, I don't know, man. You kind of get what you vote for. A California church is fined $1.2 million during lockdown, sues over alleged government spying operation tracking worshipers. Calvary Chapel San Jose sues over Santa Clara County's alleged invasive and warrantless geofencing operation. So, I don't know if you guys remember, I tweeted about this, but I didn't talk about this on the stream. There was a case kind of like this in Massachusetts. During the height of COVID, the state of Massachusetts sneakily put in a bunch of apps on people's phones to track their locations in the shadiest-ish imaginable, right? This is a geofencing operation, which I'm sure Andy could tell us more about. Let's read if they give us some more detail about that. California church ordered to pay $1.2 million in fines for violating COVID lockdown measures filed a federal lawsuit Tuesday, saying the local government unconstitutionally spied and tracked Christian worshipers through secret geofencing using congregant cell phone data. Interesting. So it sounds exactly like what happened in Massachusetts. Calvary Chapel San Jose and Pastor Mike McClure accuse Santa Clara County and the Colorado-based data company SafeGraph of embarking on an invasive and warrantless geofencing operation to track residents unbeknownst to the public, according to the lawsuit filed by Advocates for Faith and Freedom. The defendants are accused of using geofencing, a location-based tool used by the government to track individuals through their cell phone data through Calvary Chapel San Jose property so they could see when and where worshipers were on the premises. This is incredibly, insanely invasive. The operation took place over a year with seemingly no oversight, boundaries, or limitations, meaning the defendants could track churchgoers into the sanctuary, prayer room, or bathroom, the complaint says. This type of expansive geofencing operation is not only an invasion of privacy, but represents a terrifying precedent if allowed to go unaddressed. As it stands, the defendants are effectively arguing that as long as they call it research, any level of government can target and spy on any individual or group at any time for any duration, and if they so choose, they can wield the collected data against said individuals or groups who oppose their orders. This is not just un-American, it is downright Orwellian. Very overused term, appropriate in this case. Reach for comment Tuesday about the suit. Santa Clara County referred Fox News Digital to its prior comments in March. Officials had condemned a story published on Substack by journalist David Zweig that cited court documents in outlining how the county allegedly took various actions, watching church activities through a neighboring property's chain link fence, walking in on church gatherings like Bible study, and tracking churchgoers' cellular mobility data to surveil Calvary. A recent story by David Zweig has at its core false assertions and does not reflect an understanding of basic facts about the county's public health orders or enforcement program. Answer the question, Santa Clara. Did you have people peeping through the chain link fence at this church? Because holy ish. That's insane overreach. Holy cow. The new lawsuit, filed Tuesday in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, further alleges that the county council, James Williams, and county health officer, Dr. Sarah Cody, ratified the surveillance operation targeting the church, providing specific instructions to monitor the visit patterns of Calvary in comparison to other businesses and organizations within the county. So were they using this geofencing on other people's cell phones too? If so, that's a pretty freaking big story too. The county sought to weaponize the location data against Calvary in their ongoing lawsuit filed in the Santa Clara County Superior Court, where they seek to collect millions from the church for violating COVID-19 public health orders, the complaint says. Fox News Digital also reached out to SafeGraph for comment Tuesday. I'm going to assume they didn't hear back from them. Williams has defended the geofencing operation in the past, telling the Mercury News in March that Calvary Chapel posed a unique public health hazard during the pandemic. This Christian church in the unbelievably authoritarian state of California posed, quote, a unique threat. Shocking that they would say that. During the pandemic, forcing the county to respond. In April, California Superior Court Judge Yvette D. Pennypacker ruled the church should pay $1.2 million for violating Santa Clara's mask mandate between November and June 2021. The court found that the county's face covering requirement was neutral and generally applicable to all similarly situated entity in the county. The complaint says geofencing, which uses mapping software and is reliant on location data, involves constructing a virtual bound around a geographic area using machine learning and identifying all users present within that area given during a given time window. The lawsuit alleges the county never obtained a warrant in violation of congregants' Fourth Amendment rights. Yeah, no kidding. CCSJ is also a sacred place where congregants go to worship God in an intimate setting. Plaintiffs do not go with the expectation that they will be covertly surveilled by the government. No kidding. Can you imagine if every time you went to church you were like, oh my gosh, better shut off my phone, better turn off location services, better leave it at home because someone's tracking whether I go to church, where I go, how long I stay, whether I go into the bathroom, whether I go to the nursery. This is creepy. This is unbelievable. The lawsuit also alleges First Amendment violations, arguing the geofencing operation was not neutral and generally applicable because not all businesses and entities were subject to the surveillance. It charges the defendants ultimately demonstrated hostility toward religion for driving the operation in response to the church's refusal to comply with county orders restricting worship. Yes, because if you guys can recall, they were filling in the skate parks in California, and they had an extremely authoritarian bent, especially when it came to churches. Because of course they do. Stuart Walker, thank you for your super chat, says Christianity is under attack. CBJ says, tracking location data of innocent people. Where is the ACLU on this? They're not here. Last I heard they were fighting some other ridiculous case, I think about child gender surgeries or whatever. Stevie says the Bay Area is so embarrassing. Yeah, well. It charges the defendants ultimately demonstrated hostility toward religion, right? The suit seeks nominal damages, compensatory damages, and an amount to be proven at the trial and attorney's fees. People of faith should never have to worry about the government spying on them in places of worship. American people should never have to worry about the government spying on them, period. But especially, people of faith should never have to worry about the government spying on them in places of worship. I do agree. Mariah, excuse me, oh my gosh, I swear I can read. Mariah Gondiro, Vice President and Legal Counsel for Advocates for Faith and Freedom, said in a statement to Fox News Digital, "We are standing up for people of all faiths across the country who have been and continue to be targeted by the government. This invasion of privacy and targeting violates the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and represents a terrifying precedent if allowed to go unaddressed. It is time to hold Santa Clara County accountable for violating the rights of Calvary Chapel members. Our church respects the rights and privacy of all our members," McClure added. "We're not just standing up for the rights of our church families, we are standing up for the rights of religious people across the country." Good for them, and I hope they win. Let's look at what happened in Massachusetts, because I remember something very similar up there. Let's see here. Massachusetts. Scandal. Was it a scandal? I don't know. COVID tracing scandal. Lawsuit claims COVID tracing app used by Mass DPH violated user privacy rights. That's right. A Washington, D.C. based nonprofit law firm, New Civil Liberties Alliance, filed a lawsuit against the Massachusetts Department of Public Health that claims the department's use of COVID-19 contact tracing app for cell phones violated users' privacy apps. Boston Global technology writer Hiawatha Bray joins us to discuss. Okay, so it's like a radio hit. That's kind of interesting. That is very interesting. Sued for forcefully installing spyware. This sounds a little bit different than geofencing, but again, I'm not sure. Andy could probably clarify that for us for sure. Accused Massachusetts of secretly installing a contact tracing app on the device of individuals who reside in or have traveled to or through Massachusetts since June 15th, 2021. Now, if I recall correctly, the defense against us was literally just, actually, it's been too long, so we're not even going to worry about this. It wasn't a big deal, didn't cause any problem, so, just forget about it. Really interesting stuff. So, people laugh at me when I tell them that Massachusetts is more progressive than California, but I feel like I can kind of rest my case on this one because Massachusetts did it first. All right, you guys, speaking from California, straight out of California, Newsome pushes constitutional amendment to tighten gun access amid 2024 campaign. And I just want to say, this is what we will face if the Republican Party does not win in 2024. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsome proposed Thursday amending the U.S. Constitution to harden federal gun laws amid a surge of mass killings across the nation. His latest step onto the national stage amid the unfolding 2024 White House campaign. With the U.S. bitterly divided over gun rights and the Second Amendment, the chances of recasting the Constitution to enshrine universal background checks, a waiting period to buy firearms, and other restrictions into law appear remote. A new amendment has not been added since 1992. Right. Newsom has denied any interest in a presidential run and is supporting President Joe Biden's re-election bid, but his proposal marks his latest maneuver in what has taken on the look of a shadow campaign as he injects himself into the national discussion on guns, abortion, immigration, and other contentious issues. He's been in a running dispute with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican presidential candidate, and traveled to Florida in April for some reason to criticize what he said are GOP efforts to tread on LGBTQ plus rights. Fascinating, since Miami is undoubtedly the gayest town in the country. Weaken civil and voting rights, ban abortion, and marginalize people of color. No evidence given. The people down here are the happiest of any I've met. They've recently clashed after Florida picked up asylum seekers on the Texas border and took them by private jet to California. Newsome called DeSantis a small, pathetic man. Yes, and if you'll recall, our dear esteemed leader, Donald Trump, also sided with Newsome against DeSantis, so that was interesting too. But he also sided with Cuomo against DeSantis, so really nothing new there. Newsome, positioning himself as a liberal counterweight to national Republicans, has argued that Democrats have been too passive in the country's culture war and warned that the U.S. Supreme Court's conservative majority could unravel decades of court rulings that could redefine what it means to live in America. Indeed, Newsome told NBC's The Today Show in an interview that his proposal was crafted in response to federal courts rolling back several gun safety laws. In 2022, for example, the Supreme Court rejected a century-old New York law that made it difficult to obtain a license to carry a concealed handgun. That's right. The gun lobby says we can't stop the carnage America now experiences every day without violating the Second Amendment. That thoughts and prayers are the best we can do. That's a lie, Newsome said in a statement. Blah, 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 blah. It's not going to work. Doesn't matter. I hate Gavin Newsome. I hate every policy that comes from California. I watched Californians roll into my state and turn Denver into San Diego of the Rockies. And I'm actually San Francisco of the Rockies. And I'm actually going to show you guys this footage from Sean Smith, my pal over on Twitter, who actually just sent me this cool book called Gatekeeper. If you're a guy, you guys should definitely check that one out. I think it's out now. He also wrote something called The Tactical Guide to Women. So if you are interested in someone who's not Andrew Tate to give you advice about dating and life as a male, you should definitely check out his stuff. Let's see if we can see this video of Denver. Yeah, this is from Denver. Good morning, Denver. Yeah. So if you didn't know it was Denver, you would probably think that this was San Francisco because the homeless people and the open air drug use and all of that other good stuff. This is what California voters have brought to my home state. Last time I went to Denver, I was disgusted. I did not want to be there. I left as soon as humanly possible. And people don't believe me when I tell them that this is what Denver has turned into. This is because of Californian voters. Now, do we want our country to look like this as a whole? Because if you vote for if a Californian governor takes office in 2024, this is going to be what happens. I'm not interested in Californifying the entire country. I had enough of that when it came to my own home state. And I didn't like it. I would prefer to not repeat that. In fact, I follow Florida meme pages and they're like, please don't California my Florida. Not interested in that. Like, they have enough pressure from New Yorkers coming down here and voting blue. There's hope there that the people who come down from New York are more freedom oriented than other New Yorkers would be. Who knows? Californians, toxic. They will vote. They will come to your state because it's better than California, and then they will vote just like they voted in California because they hate you and they think that your state is backward and they don't care that it runs better than California. The only thing that matters to them is voting for the same policies that they had there. And they will never make the connection between what they vote for and how their state falls apart. I don't know why not. I don't know if they're stupid. I don't know if they actively just hate other human beings or if they're just smug and truly believe that their progressive beliefs are the only way. Either way, it infuriates me. I hate even talking about it, but I wanted to show you guys that out of Denver since some people don't believe me that Denver's gotten really bad. All right, you guys, we're going to read about the latest strain. This is such an interesting account, okay? So let's see what this gentleman has to say about masks. A man is not ... I don't know. I am Jack's disgust. Now, you guys may recall this gentleman from a few weeks ago where he was talking about a relationship-ending fight that he had with his significant other about masks. So we're going to read the continuation of that. I am so tired. I wear a mask anytime I'm around anyone. My partner went to 3 stores today unmasked and I'm livid. We fought and screamed. It didn't matter. She stopped wearing a mask in public, even in crowded spaces. I thought we were on the same page, but no. We went through this a few weeks ago and I thought it was settled. Obviously, it wasn't. So, I retweeted this. It was really interesting to me. And I said, I think that this might be a satire account. I said, I think this is satire designed to highlight the insanity of COVID fear-mongering. There's a lot of that going on in the replies, including people asking if he can make his partner homeless over this. Kirk jumps in. Unfortunately, I have Facebook friends who are gladly lining up to start the restrictions again. Don't do that. Don't give me hope. He posted birds, real living birds, in 2019, but then went silent until mid-2021. Interesting. Going through his other posts, I really don't think it is. I could be wrong, but trolls usually leave clues that they're trolling, even subtle little hints, and this dude and the replies seem serious. Yeah, the replies certainly do seem serious. Let's read a few of them. Just ignore my comments. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we went through this a few weeks ago. Blah, blah, blah. Someone blocked me because I said you saved a lot of women a lot of time and energy, because he was like, I was so scared during COVID. I just knew that my stance on wearing masks and being safe and saving humans would get me blocked by a lot of women on Hinge and whatever else. And I'm like, yeah, you just saved a lot of women trouble. I am so sorry. If my partner wanted to unmask, we would have to have a very grown-up, serious conversation about what happens if one of us becomes very disabled or dies. Well, newsflash, gentlemen, or whoever you are, I don't really care. You should be having that conversation with your partner anyway. In fact, I was just saying the other day, I think at the doctor's office, that Andy and I should probably get our affairs in order, because the truth is, at the end of the day, that you don't know when you're going to die. You never do. None of us do. None of us get that heads up. So make sure that all your affairs are always in order. If, God forbid, anything happens to you and or your spouse, best to make sure. Once you have that conversation, masks sound like a very easy alternative. No, because all of us should come to terms with our mortality. Every single one of us. If you're an adult, you should be okay with the idea of dying tomorrow, because someday it's going to be the case. Let's be honest. And I think this is going to be one of the most important things I teach my kids. When I worked with people who were at the end of their lives, I very quickly and pretty easily came to terms with the idea that one day I too would face that chasm, right? It's not easy to talk about. We're very, very bad at discussing it in the US. It's really not something that we're willing to tangle with because it's hard and it's heavy, but it is the only thing that happens to every single person. It doesn't care how much money you make. It doesn't care how many kids you have. It doesn't care whether you live a good or a bad life. It comes for everyone, and people refuse to accept it. Wild to me. But anyway, all that to say, get your affairs in order. Make your living will. Can you kick her out since she's putting you in danger? Great question. Wow, so glad you asked. No, we own together. It's not going to be an easy thing. I give. It doesn't sound like you're giving at all. It sounds like you're in an abusive relationship. For her sake, I hope you leave her for not obeying your commands. Interesting response. Hard to figure it out. Someone else says everyone's living normal mask-free lives around you. Yeah, someone else says I feel sad for her. Sean says pronouns in the bio. Always good to look at. I see more dudes wearing masks than women. Interesting. Make sure you've got 510 ACH filtration in the occupied rooms of your home, since she's substantially less likely to transmit it to you while pre-symptomatic. This is just like a sales bit. Also, our customers report our units are so powerful they reduce the need for dusting, which can also ease the strain in some marriages. Oh, that's a fair point. You have anxiety. If you ever recover, you're going to regret how much of your life you gave away to it. How does it feel? How does living in fear affect the immune system? This is satire, right? I don't know. I have no idea. People still mask. Somebody responds. Impenitent atheist responds, yes, I do, and so does my husband. Wild to me. And somebody else just commented, get vaccinated. Problem solved. That's fair. In fact, he does sound like a little bit of an anti-vaxxer, since he's still masking, because why would you mask if you've been vaccinated? So I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but they've come out with a new strain. Very interesting stuff. So we'll see what happens there. I'm just saying that we are coming up on an election in 2024. And what's this here? What is our friend getting up to over here? Easy peasy send. What did he send to? Kudos to for excellent write-up that also quotes HICPAC determines CDC policy, which then goes to states, counties, your hospital. What can you do? Interesting. So they're trying to tweak the way the government hands down rules about COVID. Jeez, Google, really? because he Googled how to properly wear AirPods, a watch, back brace, cologne, neck pillows, suspenders, cowboy hat, bandana, kimono, bonnet, perfume, compression socks, suit. How to wear a master's hood, how to wear a condom, how to wear a maternity belt. That's what I needed help with. It's hard. How to properly wear a Masonic ring, how to wear a mask printable sign, how to properly use a massage gun, how to properly use a manual breast pump. That's a good question too. How to properly use a martingale collar. Oh, these are great questions. How to properly use a machete. That's what I want to know. How to properly use a makeup sponge. They're not giving him advice for how to properly wear a mask. My goodness. This poor man, my heart goes out to him that he can't get the results he wants from Google. I just can't tell if this person's being serious. I have no idea. No idea. Mr. Proxy says, imagine living inside that logic. I cannot. I can't. Texas Ranger says, I'm okay, but other people flipped out with COVID and fear and stress. Unfortunately, not everyone deals in the realms of death like first responders or the medical community and are scared. We need to stop that because we are all going to die. That is not debatable. You don't get a say in that. Greg, thank you for your super chat. California is now infecting Minnesota, so glad I got out of there. Yes, it's infecting everywhere because California sucks. And again, I can't tell if they know that their policies do it and they don't care, but interesting. Let's see here. He's talking about COVID again. What on earth? Oh, this person has blocked me too. Nothing new there. Huh. Have they blocked me or are they private? I don't know. It's so hard to tell. Somebody talking about masks has blocked me. I bet you they really like Trump and they don't like what I have to say about him. Always must have iced coffee. Oh my gosh, he's trying to be human. Why are there so many doctors on this site who are hell-bent on shaming people for taking precautions? Like, seriously, what's with the infatuation of hurling insults at people who wear masks, use air filters, or don't dine indoors? What's the end game? Does it make you feel better? And I have to be honest, I am not going to shame someone else for wearing a mask because it's their face. And it tells me something about them. It tells me to stay away from them. And it tells me they're not going to be my friend and they're not going to like me. And that saves time. And I appreciate it. And I think that's fair. If you want to wear a mask, fine. Don't force your kids to do it. I don't think that's very nice. I think that's kind of child abuse. I will say, too, that if you wear a mask, it actually makes it harder for your kids to learn a language. So I think that maybe that is something to keep in mind if you care about kids at all. But given what I know about people who took the actions they did during COVID, these people do not care at all about kids. What does Clifton have to say? Because this guy calls him a troll. Still a cult. I hate seeing people's smiles now. All your unmasked smile tells me is that you think anyone who has cancer, has a transplant, is elderly, disabled, neurodivergent, or immunocompromised is expendable. As someone who is immunocompromised, no, you're full of nonsense and I will not be listening to you. Yeah, and then here we go. Relationship ending, argument with my partner of 17 years. She stopped wearing a mask today. Yes, August 6th, 2023, 3 years after the initial outbreak of COVID-19. Let me make my own decisions and stop trying to control me when I gave her facts about the virus. Wow, dude, if you haven't given her enough facts about the virus after 3 years of dealing with it, you are failing. I'm not trying to control. I'm trying to save everyone in this house. F everything. What a pathetic stance. I'm grossed out. I'm really not looking forward to these people coming back again. I don't really like the idea of giving them power again. These were the people who wanted us in jail for not getting the vaccine. These are the people who wanted kids taken away from parents for not giving them the vaccine. These people wanted people shot in the stomach for choosing not to get the vaccine. And I am not exaggerating. These are actual tweets. These are the people who are now calling the shots as to how our public discourse goes. And I don't like that at all. It's not good. I wish I had been better at communicating to my wife just how important it will be for our future, our son's future, to keep up infection prevention until a better vaccine exists. But she decided I was being overly anxious, that I was restricting her life, our son's life. That literally sounds like their marriage fell apart because of his stance on COVID. And I just have to say, I feel bad for these people. I really do. In fact, the first comment on Clifton's tweet here is anxiety disorder. You have to feel kind of bad for them a little. And Clifton says, maybe a smidge. Yes, because they're humans and we're all flawed. And yeah, I get it. I do feel bad for them. I do. Someone else points out, I'm not sure this is genuine. At this point, I put nothing past people to get internet attention. Look, maybe they are, which is insane in its own right. But I think this is internet flag waving. Maybe. Clifton says, no, each of these accounts looks real to me. I'm convinced they are real people. All right, you guys, we made it to 8 p.m. Thank you for sticking with me. It was a great time chatting with you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy your time over with Timcast IRL. Remember our mantra, and that is stay safe, stay well, stay out of Target. Until next time. Bye, guys. How's it going?